is a Furnish Brothers production.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Talkin' Buds podcast.
It is the Talkin' Buds podcast.
It's the Talkin' Buds podcast, folks.
Talkin' Buds podcast. Season 2 Talkin' Buds podcast. Let's go.
All he's got to do is get in the weight room, and oh, baby, he'll be a good pro in no time.
Good pro.
Stinks. Absolutely stinks.
Stanley Cup? How about let's just win a round?
What a dummy. You just know that Babs was looking to see if there was any gas left in the tank of that good pro. This
is the Talking Buds podcast. And now, here's your host, Rob and Ryan.
I don't know about you, Ryan, but I don't think there's ever been a time in the history of this podcast where so much has happened in between episodes.
Yeah, we were just discussing Mitch Marner. Like, this deal was never going to get done. And boom, a week later, buddy. First
Not
preseason
even days
game.
later, Ryan. Days later.
Well, I meant a week later from the last pod.
Oh, right. Yes.
So it's like we were discussing things then that are just so far in the past now, but still a lot of talking points that we can cover about that deal in this season coming up and the captaincy and all that stuff.
All right. Last week, we left the Mitch Marner discussion to the very end. We obviously cannot do that this week. Lots to get into, lots to unpack. But before any of that, Ryan.
Oh, yeah, buddy.
All right. Last Friday evening, Mitchell Marner signs a 6-year, $10.893 million a season deal with the Toronto Maple Leafs. As is the case with everything on this team, it's polarizing. There's a bunch of different takes. Some good, some bad. I have a bit of both myself. But, Ryan, I feel like sometimes, and we've been criticized about this by our listeners in the past, but I feel like sometimes we always go to the negative, right? So I want to start off with...
We're Leaf fans, bud. It's second nature by now.
All right, I want to start off with the positive takes on this deal. Like, things that you feel good about. And I think you'll agree with me. Number one, I'm just happy this is over, dude. I'm so happy that this is probably going to be the last episode for quite some time where we're talking about a player and his contract.
Yeah, that is number one, hands down. That this is finally over and we can finally focus on this season. And that is pretty much, to me, the only upside. And I guess you can add in that the core is now locked in and we got a good 5-year quote-unquote window to do something. So there's another bright spot. And
the $10.893 million, did you know that the 93 in that is an homage to my favorite Maple Leaf of all time, the legendary Doug Gilmour? And also the number that Mitch wore when he played for the London Knights.
Yeah, and I wish he could wear it now, but I'm kind of happy it's retired at the same time. So, but man, if I was a Leaf, 93, bud. That's a number I would be pretty stoked to wear. It's a great number, man. I'd wear that anywhere.
Well,
beauty number.
I'm shocked. Did they retire it? Is it retired?
Yeah, didn't they retire all the
yes.
jerseys? I'm pretty sure Dougie was in that.
Yeah. So
Wendell was in that. If Wendell was in that, Dougie was in that.
Yeah, you definitely cannot wear number 93 as a Maple Leaf.
I feel like he would be wearing 93 if that was the case. Like, why would he wear 16 after wearing 93 in junior? That's just silly.
Well, especially now that Lou's gone and they can all, like, Willie changed to 88.
Yeah, I think I'm going to like that on him, actually.
Yeah, I like that too. I think that's a smart move. Just a fresh start.
Yeah, I like that.
All right, so we were able to stretch the positive side. But honestly, I digress. It cannot be overstated, Ryan, just how happy I am that, like, I did not want this to drag into the season, just like what happened with Nylander last year. And even for the players, like, could you imagine, like, camp opened on Friday in Newfoundland, and it would just be days of every player being like, so Mitch Marner, what do you think of Mitch Marner? You know, with Marner not here, how does it affect chemistry in the room, and blah, 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 blah. It's like, you could tell that on Dubas's side, like, especially when they had the press conference together on the weekend, he just wanted to get this done, man. Like, he did not want to go through that again.
That was awkward, man.
Yeah, that was so awkward.
Two standing beside each other, that made me feel very uncomfortable watching that.
Yeah,
like,
agreed.
Like, they looked like two guys who just been through a war together and just had to get through that session of media. Like, it was painful to watch, but me personally, like, I did not have a good feeling about it, man. Like, I thought this thing was dragging out. Like, after everything we've heard, after all the reports of the turned down contracts and the amount of term, the amount of money, I was actually surprised that it happened like that soon. I thought it would drag out longer, but they had to get it done. Like, dude, they had no other choice. They did not have the cap space to deal with that prorated salary cap hit in the first year where it increases the longer it takes for you to sign. Because Willie was 10.5 on the cap last year. I can't remember the exact number, but they just couldn't afford to do that this year, man. And they just had to have their full roster ready to go for this camp, because this deal, all the guys done, we're done talking about contracts, but that means one thing. This team has to win.
All right.
They have to win a round. This franchise hasn't won a round in 15 years.
All right,
we need to win a round.
I'm going to pull the reins back on you here, Ryan, because we're going to get to that. But I want to start with, we're going to get to how this impacts expectations and all that, but I want to start with, how do you feel about the AAV? It's a lot of
way
money.
Too high, man. I don't care. Never, my mind will never be changed about that. Way too high, overpaid.
Yeah, the Leafs now have $40 million of their salary cap committed to 4 guys.
Yeah, they're all overpaid, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I think all of them, all 3 of them are overpaid.
It's very NBA, the way Dubas has chosen to set this up. He's paying his stars, and then he's going to surround them with cheap role players who hopefully can play above their expectation or their potential or whatever you want to say.
Yeah, but the difference with that is no hockey players on the ice for 45 minutes a night. Like, you're paying a guy $11 million for Mike Babcock to throw him on the ice for 18 minutes a night. It's complete. All of them are overpaid. All of them.
Yeah, it's a lot of money for sure. Like, so do you think that the pressure from the media and the fans got to Marner? Because the story apparently is that Marner reached out to Kyle Dubas, and he said after the fact, I didn't want to miss games, I didn't want to miss camp, which I believe. But do you think that, like, Jeff O'Neill going on his rant last week on Overdrive and just the anger from fans on social media got to Marner, and that's why he eventually reached out?
Oh yeah, you have to think that'd get to him, man. Like, if I put myself in his shoes, I probably wouldn't have gone about it the way him and his agent and his father went about it. But there's no way that you'd be able to escape all the talk in the city, all the people tweeting at you or commenting on your Instagram photos or sending you DMs. Like, I'm sure some of the messages he received were not very nice. And for him, for a guy who grew up, like, around the area, like, he's not from anywhere else. Like, this is where he lives. This is where his home is. So even though I don't know if it was the total deciding factor, like, there's no way he could have ignored that. There's no way.
Let's talk about the other side of this, Kyle Dubas, he's taken some heat in the media for his how should I put this? His soft negotiating. Like, there's a lot of people who are of the opinion that he got taken to the cleaners. Although, you know what? Admittedly, for two guys who have ripped the Nylander contract, it looks pretty damn good now beside this Mitch Marner contract. But he's developing a reputation as a guy who, if you just squeeze him a little bit, he'll eventually cave.
Yeah, I feel like Marner's camp went about it just like, we know Nylander didn't get the money that we're asking for. It's actually a lot more money that they were asking for. But what that taught all Leaf players is you just got to push. Like, if you just push them a little bit, put a little pressure on, then you're going to get what you want, basically, or very close to what you want. Because you look at three out of the 7 highest paid players in the league. Like, that's proof itself, man. Like, there's a lot of good hockey players around this league who could be making a lot of money. And we got 3 of the top paid guys. Like, whoa.
Well,
his negotiating skills have been on display, and it looks like they're pretty soft. I have to agree.
Well, and especially when you look at 2 RFA contracts that were signed this week. Brock Besser signs with the Canucks for 3 years at a 5.875 AAV, and the one that just blows your mind is Charlie McAvoy signing 3 years with the Bruins at $4.9 million.
That makes me sick.
Well, can I ask you something? Why? What is it with these guys and this organization where all these guys demanded huge dollars? Is it the Dubas factor, do you think?
Well,
is that Bruins management looking at Charlie McAvoy and saying, this is all we're giving you?
Well, dude, it's so hard to answer. Like, it drives me nuts, right? Like, I don't want to go in some long spiel here, but like we did the whole tank. We got the first overall pick. We got Nylander, we got Marner, and it was like, here we go. Here's our window. And now it's just like, 4 players take up half the cap, you're screwed. Like, why can't one of these guys be like, I'm down with $5 million?
But why
I guess
is
Morgan
that?
Riley did that a couple of years ago when he signed his deal. He's around $5 million. But it's like, honestly,
why
I would
is that,
take
though?
I
what
don't
is
know,
it?
man. Like
JD
it's
Bunkus.
just these Leafs RFAs are just like very bold kids who have an idea, and they know that they can push their general manager, and they know how important they are to this market, because every day when you turn on TSN, Sportsnet, it's just constant Matthews, Marner, Nylander talk. And they know how important they are to this city and this team, because this is the first legit team we've had in forever. So there's a little bit of that as well. And also these guys kind of just, like, they know how much they're worth and they want to get paid a lot of money.
JD Bunkus on Fan 590 has talked about this a lot, that like playing for this team and this organization should be special in the sense that like all the perks that come along with it. And that includes outside money that you can make, like with like sponsorship and what have you. Like Marner was in the friggin' Apple commercial last year, right? And like those opportunities are afforded to you here more than they are in other markets. And I just feel like that these 3 you can't say Tavares really, because he actually took less money to come here than what the Islanders were offering him or what San Jose was offering him. But like,
and he's been in the league for a long time and has a way more proven resume, even though his teams did not really do well in the playoffs. But it's you know who he is.
These 3 guys who, yes, Matthews won a Calder, but in this grand scheme of the National Hockey League, who have never accomplished anything, took the Leafs to the cleaners and all got paid more than what most feel they're worth. You and I disagree on the Matthews number, but it's a lot of money, right? And so I don't understand why we can't just take a little bit less, with the understanding that, we need more money to spend. Like the old Tom Brady thing where like, I'm going to take a lower salary so we can spend money elsewhere. And it's just like, these 3 guys didn't do that. Like, that's not what happened here.
Well, it's just like, where did it start? Like, if you really had to narrow it down, like, where did this start with the RFAs and the crazy money? Because Connor McDavid got a monster contract, and rumor is
he's looked at it. He's looked at as like the next Wayne Gretzky, Ryan. Like
I know that, but like it's the first big RFA. But you know what happened after that? Jack Eichel got signed for $10 million a year.
Yeah,
it's like Jack Eichel. Like seriously, like the guy's got a lot of skill and he's highly touted. But like $10 million for Jack Eichel. Like what happened to the win 3 cups and then you get your $10 million down in Chicago or in LA? But it's just somewhere along the way, it's just like I think it started with McDavid.
Well, we talked about it last year that the Leafs were at. Listen, and I've been wanting to say this. I've been thinking about this since the Marner deal. We talked about this all last season about how, the Leafs are at the forefront of this new trend in the NHL where these guys are going to get paid early and what have you. But 10.893 for Mitch Marner. Like, man. And like, yes, 94 points last year. Hell of a hockey player. But like just under $11 million?
It's out of control.
Like,
it's
really?
So out of control, man. Like, I know we're pumped because it's like, oh, now we can worry about the season and yay. But it's like, dude, they're screwed. Like, they better do something this year because
this year, and that's to like you tried to go there earlier, and now I held you back, and now we'll go there. This season coming up, like I think everyone now views their window as the Matthews contract, right? 5 years, that's the window.
Yep, 5 years,
right? Because there is a segment of the fan base that feels like he'll leave after that 5 years because he's not to get into it, he's an American player and he want to go play somewhere in the U.S. and USA hockey means a lot to him. Yada yada yada.
That's something a Toronto media member would come up with and someone would get behind.
Right. So the window is believed to be 5 years, which I agree with, but I'm also of the opinion now that this season coming up that we are about to embark on, okay, the window will never be bigger than it is this year when you look at the talent that is currently on this roster. Because of the way their cap situation is going to be at the end of this season and the amount of money they're spending on the big four, they're not going to have very much money. And I know you could say, they could trade a Nylander or like whatever, which yes, they could do that. But money's going to be tight. And Tyson Barrie is going to need a new contract. Jake Muzzin is going to need a new contract. Okay? So you're not going to have the defensive depth. Theoretically, you're not going to have the defensive depth next season that you have this year. Like, so their roster on paper this season will be the strongest it's been in the Babcock, Dubas, Shanny era. Okay? You want to hear my hot take, Ryan? Anything less than an Eastern Conference final appearance, Mike Babcock should lose his job.
Honest, like he's on the hot seat, man. Like this, to me, it's like first. I don't know if I'm there with the East final, but I do think like first round, like you're done. Like he's done. He's gone.
I'm even in the second round. Like maybe if they went to like a game 7 and lost in the second round, maybe that would save him. But anything, like in my opinion, anything less than an Eastern Conference final appearance with this team's defensive depth that they're going to have this season,
which is kind of funny because even though it's going to be their best defensive depth in a while, it still does not stack up against some of the teams around the league.
Yeah. So, but still, it is going to be we went through it a bit last week. We'll go through it again. So, like the top 6 opening night off the top of your head: Barrie, Muzzin, Riley, Ceci, any one of those, a pair of those 4, some version of those 4 is the top 4. And then obviously when Dermott comes back, that's going to push somebody. Hopefully that's going to push Ceci out of the top 4. and then that everybody moves down a spot. Like CC moves down to the 5th spot, Harper goes up in the press box, what have you. But on paper, this will be the deepest top 4, top 6 guys they've had in the Babcock era, in my opinion. So that's why I'm telling you. Plus, like, the top 2 lines are going to be Tavares, Marner, Hyman, Matthews, Nylander, Janssen. And then you've got Kerfoot, Kapanen, and whoever they want to put on that other wing on the 3rd line. So it's the 3 pretty decent lines, skill-wise.
Yeah.
So anything short of an Eastern Conference final appearance, in my opinion, is a failure, and Mike Babcock should lose his job.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I still don't know if it's East Final, man. Like, what if maybe if they go into the playoffs and they beat kind of say they don't run into the Bruins, they run into Buffalo or Florida and they win that, then I feel like whatever. But if they get a huge W and they finally beat the Bruins in that first round, I think that would be kind of a different story, and I feel like you'd get an extra year pass just on that. But what the other factor is, though, is like maybe Dubas is just like itching to find an excuse to fire Mike Babcock. Like, I don't know that. I'm just speculating. But like, it seems like he's gone through an awful lot of trouble to keep Sheldon Keefe around, and I'm sure he would love for Sheldon Keefe to be the coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs so he could finally execute his Dubas plan.
I don't know if you've been paying attention to any of the training camp interviews and stuff like that, but Babs is right back to being Babs, man. Like, I just can't with the guy. Did you see what he said about Matthews and his ice time on his opening press conference?
Yeah, dude, he makes you want to throw up. Like, his shtick is just so done, man.
Yeah.
Like, his shtick is so done. Like, it's so tired. And the thought of him getting fired doesn't even upset me that much anymore, because if I was a player in that room, man, I'm going to be honest, like, I would be so sick of him by now. Like, he would just drive me nuts, and every day it's drive train and being a good pro and doing this and all the Babisms that he has, and I would be just sick of it, man.
Well, we talked about it last week, like, to your comment about Dubas, like, and his relationship with Babcock. Dubas spent the summer stripping Mike Babcock of all his favorite toys.
Yeah, and like,
right?
I know, and it's just like, it seems like they're just not meant to be together. Like, they just ended up being together because Babs was already here and he got hired by Brennan Shanahan a couple years prior. But it's like, Dubas is here. This will be his 2nd year with Babcock as Dubas being the general manager. And every single GM likes to hire their own coach. So even though I think he'll get a pass after 1 round victory, because I feel like the Babs relationships even goes ahead of Dubas. Like, it's Shanny. Like, Shanny hired him. Like, it's kind of an awkward situation. But I feel like if they just went around, it'll buy him another year.
See, I don't know about that. I think now the pressure that is on the organization with how much they're paying these guys, like, it's there's going to be
ridiculous. We're done with it.
If they go through another stretch like they did last year, where they're like awful for like 20 some odd games, it's gonna get loud in this city, man. It is gonna get loud.
Dude, all the remnants of the rebuild are all gone, buddy. Like, there's no more growing pains. There's no more learning lessons. And people are like, oh, what about the Washington Capitals? The Washington Capitals learned their lesson. It's like, yeah, but they didn't have 3 guys making $11 million. Like, this is, you wanted the pressure, like, you wanted the money. Now handle the pressure. Like, let's see how you guys handle this. You wanted the big boy deals, and you're gonna find out real quick what comes along with those.
Well, another thing is, you could also end up like the San Jose Sharks, where it's like every year you watch TSN and Sportsnet's like season preview shows, and every guy behind the desk is like, the San Jose Sharks, best roster on paper in the league. They're my pick to win the West and win it all. Eliminated in the first round. Eliminated in the second round.
Yeah, and that was the Capitals forever.
Yeah.
And
but the Capitals eventually got over the hump. The Sharks have never got over that hump.
Yeah, and people love a team that's had 3 players make it all $11 million. Like, this is uncharted waters, and let's see how you boys like the pressure, man.
It's NBA style, man. You're paying your stars, and you're going to surround them with cheap role players that you hope overachieve.
Like, even Tavares, man. Like, I know I had a honeymoon year with John Tavares, but, like, you've been here a year now. You had an unreal year last year. You scored a bunch of goals. I respect that. But he was nowhere in the playoffs. Absolutely nowhere to be found. Like, it's just, come on, man. Like, here's another guy. I know you're getting up there. You just had a kid. Some more distractions in your life. But, like, watching that preseason game or anytime watching him skate, period, he's slow. Like, he's slow, man.
Ryan, the guy who, I'm sorry, the spotlight is on come postseason time is, and I'm the biggest Austin Matthews cheerleader out of the two of us, but it's on him, man. Like that, he's had 2 years. Like, yes, last year was a little bit better than the first playoff run against Boston, but he's got to go to another level, man. Like he's got to go. And Babs alluded to it the other day. I'm going to quote him. Babs they were talking about what are you looking for in a captain? And he basically just said, I'm looking for Kawhi Leonard. Like, Matthews has to go Kawhi Leonard in the sense that he has to make everyone around him better.
But is he ready to do that?
That's the thing, right? And
I don't think he is.
Well, he's got to make that jump though, Ryan. Like, he's been in the league. This will be his fourth year in the league. And it's like the time, you're right, the time for learning lessons and growing pains, and it's a good lesson for our group, is over.
Oh, like, it's so over, man.
Yeah, it's over.
So over.
It's over. Like
just remember when Mike Babcock got hired and it was like the guy was bulletproof. Like, he could say anything, do anything, and it was totally fine because we were just pumped to have Babcock. Like, now we're talking about him getting fired if he doesn't win a round. Like,
well, that's what 3 first-round exits in a row gets you, Ryan.
But that's how fast that, like, rebuild went by. Like, those entry-level years for those guys. That's like, it just went by in a flash. Now we're talking about pressure and guys getting fired, and it's just like, I'm almost just mind-blown. Like, it's just unbelievable how fast this has gone by. Like, it seems like yesterday we were watching Peter Holland on the first line.
Peter Holland.
Yeah.
Wow. There's
P.A. Parento.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. All-star Leo Komarov. Like, and now it's
Michael Grabner.
Breakaway legend.
Oh, my God.
Oh, boy.
Well, you know what I was talking, I was talking about the other day was like, here's one thing I will say, positive thing, okay? At least if the Leafs are paying guys, they're paying their stars. Like, this isn't David Clarkson making all this money.
Louis Eriksson in Vancouver.
Yeah. Like their top 6 is as legit a top 6 in the NHL as you could get. There's no Grabowski, Kulemin, and MacArthur.
Yeah, I kind of, they're, it's just like, yeah, they don't have one absolute disaster contract, but to me, if you add up all of them and you take the extra money that they paid them, it basically adds up to a bad contract. Like, if you, like, all these other, like we talked about Boston, all those guys, $6 million, $7 million, $5 million, and then you got the extra millions added on Matthews and Tavares and Nylander and Marner, and it's like, you add those extra millions, it's basically just a bad, non-existing player contract on your books compared to some of these other hockey teams.
does this Mitch Marner contract change the way you look / feel about the William Nylander deal?
Yeah, I think it does, actually. I can't believe I'm saying that. And
Nobody hated on that guy and contract more than you last year.
Well, it's just like it seemed so ridiculous at the time because it just dragged out for so long. Like what you said at the very start of the podcast, like you're just happy that it's just over and like it's just training camp. We don't have to talk about it because last year it was the William Nylander podcast every time we got on here. But it's just, I think the only thing about Nylander compared to Marner is like, Marner's going to bring it. Like, like even though he's getting paid a lot and you're going to expect a lot out of him, like most nights, like you're never going to look at Marner and be like, this guy didn't try tonight. Or he was invisible. It didn't get involved. Like William Nylander is like the guy where it's like, I didn't see him once in 60 minutes. Like he's nowhere. He's a ghost.
Well, you said it last week that effort is never a question with Mitch Marner.
No.
And effort is frequently a question with William Nylander.
And that's why it's like, that's almost the difference. Like, I feel like they shouldn't be that far apart in their AAVs per year, but that's the difference between them. They're both really skilled guys, but Marner's bringing it 9 times out of 10, and it's like Nylander. It's like, hey, who's showing up tonight? And
my expectations for William Nylander are pretty high right out of the gate. The guy had all summer to get his head on straight, change the number, fresh start. He's going to be with Matthews. He's going to be on Matthews' wing right out of the gate. Let's go. Like we don't need a couple games to get your legs. You had all summer to figure it out. You had a disastrous year last year. That guy should be shot out of a cannon when they drop the puck on October 2nd, dude. That guy should just be shot out of a cannon.
Yeah, like I'm expecting baseline 60 points out of the guy.
Yep.
Like that's my obviously I'd want to get him more, but it's like, dude, you have to hit that 60 point mark. Like you have to. You got to stay healthy, which he's done pretty much. Like I don't remember a time where Nylander was down with an injury, unless my memory isn't help me out right now. But it's like, dude, like 60 points, that's your benchmark, dude. And you better play with Austin Matthews, and you better play well, because I'm not doing this revolving winger crap on that line.
Yeah, that was
done with that.
Yeah, there was too much of that last year.
Janssen, Kapanen.
Mango.
Oh boy.
That's a beauty nickname.
Mango.
I love that nickname.
I always forget about those two guys too. Like we just spent all this time talking about the big dogs, and it's like, oh yeah,
give those guys
Janssen
credit,
and
man. They took 2 team friendly deals. Like they both got paid. They're both for what they are. Their deals are fair, and
Charlie McAvoy is making $1 million more than they are. Like it's a joke, man. Like I am. When you brought that up earlier about that contract, like I'm just angry about that.
Yeah, $4.9 million.
I would take Charlie McAvoy over Mitch Marner any day for this hockey team.
Oh my god!
Put me on the record.
There's a hot take. Anyone who's listening to this, that heat you're feeling in your headphones or out of your car, that's the boiling hot take that Ryan just threw out on the podcast.
Put me on the record right now. Like, forget the contracts. I would go Marner for McAvoy straight up tomorrow.
Whoa!
100%. For this hockey team, dude.
What, because he's just like more of a grinder?
It's a top 2 defenseman. It's a top 2 defenseman, man. Like, this is... and he's an American guy. Put Matthews and McAvoy at the helm with Morgan Riley. Like, come on, dude. They would be so much better. They would be so... I love Mitch. Mitch has all the skill in the world, but you can throw that kid on the ice for 30 minutes a night, and he's going to be legit. Like, I would do that in a heartbeat without even thinking about it.
All right, let's move on here. So the Maple Leafs kicked off the preseason tonight in St. John's, Newfoundland, against the Ottawa Senators, and lose a very, very sloppy hockey game, 3-1. Ryan, it was 5:30 start because they're on Newfoundland time. So I left work at 5 o'clock and I booked it home, and I sat down and I watched 5 minutes and quickly remembered that this is the preseason. And
yeah, it's awful.
It is tough to watch, man. It is tough to watch.
Yeah, it's just you're watching it and you're like, oh yeah, Timashov. Oh yeah, Brooks. Oh yeah, Bracco. Like, forgot about those guys. But it's just brutal, man. I can't. I watched the second and third. I missed the first, but it was just,
We're not gonna recap the game, obviously, because it's a preseason game. But
No, please don't.
I did want to share some observations I had. Tyson Barrie can fly.
Yep.
Like, that guy is like 1, 2, 3s in the neutral zone. It was reported a couple days ago that he'll be on the second power play unit and Riley will be on the first. I wouldn't be surprised if that gets flip-flopped a few times this year, especially if the power play starts struggling like it did last year. Man,
I think he might be a better option than Morgan. Actually, Morgan Riley lit it up last year.
Yeah.
I take that back. I take that back. Don't put me on the record for that. No, I take that back.
And Riley's like, he's got seniority, so
I love Morgan Riley, man.
Yeah, so do I. So they'll start with him on the first unit. And Ryan, you know what? Maybe having Barrie on the second unit will help that second unit. He's taking the spot that Jake Gardner had last year.
Dude, that second unit last year, whoa, brutal.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I couldn't even tell you who was on it.
Patty Marleau.
Different.
I know.
Who's gonna be our? How many bum of the weeks did he get last year?
Oh yeah, I know. I was thinking about that today, about how we're season's coming in, so we're gonna have to kick up bum and beauty of the week again. I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, how many bum of the weeks? I'm pretty sure Nikita Zaitsev was the undisputed champion for bum of the week last year.
Yeah, we got to go back. We got to check the tape, man. To me, it's a dogfight between Zaitsev and Marleau.
Connor Brown. Yeah,
Connor Brown.
Yeah, Connor Brown. He's another one of Bab's favorites that Dubas was just like, yeah, no.
Yeah, Connor
Brown.
Oh, yeah. That's a triple threat right there.
Another observation from tonight's game, they talked about this on TSN on the broadcast. Freddie the Goat had the game of his life. He was all over the ice.
Still couldn't score, though.
Still
couldn't find the ocean to put the puck in.
Yeah, couldn't pop one, but was in on the forecheck, first in on the forecheck all night long. And I think that's because Freddie the Goat is looking down the bench at the guy who's here to take his job, Jason Spezza.
Yeah, I think it's a slam dunk that the Goat's not going to get in there.
The Babcock's had weird comments about, man, I'm with you. I'm so tired of Babcock. Like, he's had these weird comments about Spezza. He's like, we've got a role here for him and he's got to accept the role and we're going to try him out and we're going to see if he's going to accept the role. And Spezza's just like, yeah, I know. I signed for $700,000. I'm here to be the fourth line center. Like, that's why I'm here. And to take draws on the penalty kill. Like, that's why I'm here. And Babcock's like, we've got a role for Spets, and we're gonna see if he's here to accept it, and we're gonna look at him, and he's gonna look at us, and it's just like, oh my god.
Yeah, dude, it's so frustrating.
Yeah, he's like, just
shut up,
yeah.
man.
You know what? Like,
here you go again. You don't like a guy out of the gate. Haven't given him a chance. You just looked at him once in the gym, and that's just you decide right then and there.
Yeah, I saw this hilarious tweet that tomorrow night, because the Leafs play again tomorrow night against the Sens, and he's like, Babcock's totally going to watch Cody Ceci just screw up all night while he's paired with Rasmus Sandin, and then after the game, Babcock's going to be like, Sandin's a bum.
Dude, this guy, honestly, I kind of hope he gets fired after talking about
dude, I'm
this.
done.
Like, dude, it's actually so dumb.
Yeah, I'm done.
I respect the guy, man. Like, think about all the players he got. He made Nazem Kadri a better hockey player, Gardner a better hockey player. Even the young kids, he's made them all better hockey players. But at some point, it's like he's getting in the way sometimes. Like, it's just like,
he gets in the way with the young players. That's the thing. So like, Gardner and Kadri had already been in the league, and like Kadri had the whole runaround with like Ron Wilson and Randy Carlyle and all that, right? So like, those guys had already been in the league, right? So, and I think Babcock's good at that. That's why like his comments about. I don't think that he was like being negative about Spezza. Because I think he's just Babcock being Babcock, and he can't just say like, yeah, Spezza's the fourth line center. He's got to give some huge like life soliloquy about how like, well, we're gonna take a good look at him, and he's gonna take a good look at us, and blah blah blah. And like Spezza, literally since he got here, has been like, yeah, man, I'm the fourth line center. Signed for $700,000. I'm literally here because like I want to raise my kids in Toronto.
Oh my God, he's such an idiot.
Yeah, I know, man. It's brutal. So like, but with the younger players, like that's why I laugh so hard at that. It's like literally, Babcock is going to pair Rasmus Sandin, however you say it, with Cody Ceci tomorrow night. Ceci's going to be an albatross, and then Babcock at the end of the game is going to be like, Sandin, not ready. Going down to the Marlies.
Oh, it's so out of control. It's so bad. We're going to look at...
It's brutal, man. It's brutal.
Oh, they're going to look at me. We're going to look at him.
Here, I'm going to find the quote. I'm going to find the actual quote right now. Hold on. Hold on. I'm going to find it right now.
That's awesome.
Yeah, hold on. Here it is. Hold on. I gotta find it. Stay with me. Stay with me.
I did. You know why? Because you'd think like Mike was
here it
in
is.
on signing Spezza, and then you just hear that.
Here. Okay, ready? So they ask him about him, and he goes, "Well, I think the big thing with Spetz here, and we talked tons about it in advance, is that there's a role here for him. He's got to be able to do it. We're going to see over exhibition whether he likes it and whether he wants to do it. We're just in the process of feeling him out, and he's feeling us out right now. It is probably a different camp in that way for him, but he loves hockey." Like, God.
It's like, I thought for sure Mike would be like the first guy on board of just getting this guy in for the draws and like
Ryan, you
play
forget
a bit of power play or penalty kill, and it's like, you're giving us this spiel already? Like, are you serious?
You forget how much he also loves Freddie the Goat.
Guy signed for $700,000.
I know. And like he literally, like when they signed him, the day they interviewed him on like free agency day, he was like, "Yeah, I'm here to be a role player, fourth line guy." And Babs is like, we're
that's
gonna
like
see if
his
he's gonna accept the
dream.
role. Yeah, and Babs is like, we're gonna see. But again, I don't think it has anything to do with how Babs feels about Spezza. I think Babs just is like, he's so into his like shtick that he can't just be like, yeah, Spezza's here. Probably gonna have a fourth line guy. We've had good talks. How it's gonna be? It's he's gonna feel us out, and that's a great thing about life. You get an opportunity to do your best each and every day, and it's just like you just can't not do it.
No, I wondered like I like the backup goalie drama with Babcock too. That's right in his wheelhouse. Like Neuwirth is already injured. It's like you're done, pal.
Yeah,
you're in the doghouse already.
Well, that's the thing about Neuwirth is like he can't stay healthy, right?
Oh,
they talked about that on the broadcast tonight too. That the guy just gets hurt, so it's like it's Hutchinson's job.
Oh,
like let's be honest.
I need to calm down. That had me going.
Oh my God!
Woo, I need to take a deep breath.
Spezza played tonight. I thought he was okay. Like he's a veteran guy. He knows what to do. He knows where to stand. He'll be okay. He'll be a good fourth line center.
You know what observation I had, and you brought it up over text, was there's Mitch Marner on his off wing on the power on his wing on the power play, not ready for a one timer. Like that's gotta change, man. Like I'm not doing another year, man.
They brought in new assistant coaches. Jim Hiller's gone, so that tells you who's the one who's putting people in their places on the power play.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Like, come on. Like, I know they got out to a really hot start last year, and statistically over the year, it didn't look that bad. But, like, if you were watching the games, game in, game out, for more than the back half of the season, like, their power play was abysmal. It did nothing. And it's just like, I'm not doing this again. Like, let's try something different. Like, we're not doing this.
They brought in Paul McFarland and David Hackstall, and I'm pretty sure is McFarland or Hackstall coaching the forwards?
I don't know, man. I feel like McFarland's coaching the forwards.
Yeah, I could be. Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure.
Haxtell was the guy who coached the Flyers last year.
Flyers, yeah.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, it could be Paul McFarland.
I feel like he's doing the forwards, but
Haxtell.
feel free to correct us.
But whatever. It's not Jim Hiller anymore, and Marner's still on his wrong side. So that tells you who's telling people where to stand on the power play.
Yeah.
Speaking of Mitch Marner, all over the ice tonight, sets up Kasperi Kapanen for a beauty goal, and then giveaway in his own zone.
Big cough.
Oh, big cough.
Babs was actually running Tavares, Kapanen, and Marner out there nonstop in that third period.
Yeah, just trying
It's
to get
that like Marner and Kapanen together. It's a fast line.
And like it's preseason, so who cares that Marner coughed the puck up, really? But
yeah, no, it's like the guys still gotta. It's preseason. Calm down.
yes, yeah, agreed. All right. Anyways, I think that'll do it for this week, Ryan.
Yeah, this
so-
Babcock, man. Who I can't. If he gets fired, like all the material we have built up is just
Gone.
all gonna go to waste.
It's gone. He does it to himself, man. He's one of those guys that just gives you ammunition to just poke fun at him because he's like he just does like the ridiculous Spezza quote, and it's like, and then he takes a shot. Like I talked about it earlier, I didn't say the actual quote. Like what he said about Matthews, like so people go at him. He obviously got the question about Matthews' ice time in Game 7, so he essentially said, he had the same ice time he had all year. Like the message between, I don't know the exact words of what he said, but like the essential message he was trying to get across was he got the same ice time he got all year, but he was coming off the ice.
Oh yeah. It was like he had the same amount of shifts as Tavares.
Yes.
But had like a minute and a half, 2 minutes less ice time than him.
Yeah.
So he kind of just like deflected it back onto Matthews, being like, well, he's getting off the ice early.
Well, which tells you, which again tells you, so we go back to this, and then him and Matthews had another meeting this offseason, which wasn't nearly as big of a deal as it was last year, but all rumors are pointing to Matthews being named the captain here at the end of camp. And so so Babcock making those types of comments leads me to believe that the choice to name Matthews captain is coming from above and not necessarily from him. But then again, this is a guy who runs his GM over with the bus all the time. So so the captain or whoever won't be exempt from that either.
Yeah, it's just the guy just apologizes. Jeff Blair actually had the best quote today. He says, if you listen to Kyle Dubas talk, he apologizes for everything. If you listen to Mike Babcock talk, he apologizes for absolutely nothing.
Yep.
It takes no responsibility. It's always just, I thought we were prepared.
This turned into the it's rare that Talking Buds episode doesn't turn into some sort of comedy skit about Mike Babcock.
Well, it's just like, okay, Marner deal's over. We're done talking about that. Let's watch some media. Oh, wait, there's Babs being Babs again.
Yep.
And you just know it's going to be an issue at some point.
Yep. So before we go, just like there's a bunch of preseason games. They play the Senators on Wednesday. Then they got a Friday, Saturday back-to-back home and home against Buffalo. And then they've got a Monday, Wednesday home and home with the Habs. Then they've got a Friday, Saturday home and home next week with the Wings. And then the season opens October 2nd at home against the Ottawa Senators.
Wow. Here we go.
Here we go.
Here we go, man.
So we'll be back sometime next week. We'll probably recap those Sabres games and talk about the Habs games and what have you. And we'll have some more juicy material, Mike Babcock comedy skits to share.
All right, buddy.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for downloading. We will catch you next week.